After being knocked out for 10,000 years, the guy finally woke up. When he finally came to, he figured out he was stuck with the elves, basically living as their portable charger. Were only able to have daughters. The only way they could keep their line going was by using a cultivator's life force. Every day, he got totally wiped out just to make sure his people didn't die off. He figured he was just gonna chill and meditate for what felt like a quick 10,000 years. He'd already made it through that huge war where immortals and demons went all out. That was the moment when the cultivation era finally wrapped up. Now succubi and elves ran the whole world. He was the only immortal lord left standing, the last one still around. As he checked out this weird new world, he kept a jade bracelet on his wrist, the same one that had stuck with him for thousands of years. The bracelet switched up and turned into a fox with white fur. Ching was the one who gave it a name. Later on, he ran into a group of mages who were out hunting monsters. They froze for a second, totally not expecting to see someone random in a spot full of monsters. It was like, bro, what are you even doing here? This place is packed with things that'll mess you up. Kept it cool and told them he picked up a quest from the village nearby. He was just there to take out some beasts. When they spotted how rough he looked, they couldn't help but laugh. To them he had nothing, no equipment, no magic, so he just seemed like a total joke. One of them took out a mana sensor and got ready to check things out. The screen showed nothing but a flat 0. They couldn't hold back their laughter. Even random peasants had 5 points, so he was way too weak to even be considered backup. Just fired back, not holding back at all. He didn't get why they were yelling at him. He figured even if he had no mana, he could still take everyone down. But honestly, he had no clue what mana even was. Who led the squad, moved up, and let everyone know she had a special power for taking down monsters. Mana strength goes from E all the way up to S rank. Might have been young, but she was already rocking that D rank mage status. The dude snapped, telling everyone to leave before they messed things up. Didn't even react. He just kept it moving and walked right into the forest like he had a plan. Looked locked in and picked up on that right away. She just waved off her teammates, letting him do his thing without anyone getting in his way. She was totally sure of herself, basically saying it was cool to let another civilian tag along. She gave off that vibe like handling these monsters solo was no big deal for her. A few minutes later, a bunch of goblins popped out of nowhere and surrounded them. Didn't waste a second. She dropped a tornado spell that wiped out the whole swarm in no time. Her 2 fanboys went wild, hyping up how strong she was. Out of nowhere, a dead beast showed up right in front of her. The guy saw that it just stayed still. He strutted up, acting all cocky just to mess with it. Right after that, he totally messed up and had to deal with the consequences. That's when it finally hit him. This thing was a tier 3 monster called the Goblin Chieftain. The sound was insanely loud, shaking everything around. The guy and his partner just dropped to the ground, totally freaked out. Didn't waste any time, she focused hard, hands glowing as water magic started building up. She was locked in, calling for power from the stars and the darkness around her. The Goblin King barely even tried. He just flicked his sword and knocked the attack away like it was nothing. She saw how strong this monster was and instantly realized she was way out of her league. She felt guilt hit her hard. Deep down, she knew her own pride had pulled that guy straight into this mess. She barely had time to process what was happening before the Goblin King already came at her with his sword. She shut her eyes and just waited, knowing there was nothing else she could do. Right then, jumped in and stopped the attack that would finished it. The Goblin King threw all his weight into it, but his huge sword just stayed put. Didn't budge at all, no matter how hard he tried. Just froze, she couldn't believe it. He blocked their attack with only 2 fingers, barely even trying. 3 monsters rushed him and he handled it like it was nothing. Kept his cool, barely raising his voice as he told everyone to back off. Deep down, everyone knew that if he made a move, nobody within 100 miles would be left standing. After she dipped out, electric sparks danced across his fingertips, lighting up the space around him. The Goblin King was straight up soaked, picking up on the intense fear coming off the guy standing in front of him. Suddenly, lightning shot across the sky, lighting everything up for a second. Yelled out. The sky opened up and thunder came crashing down. Thunder crashed out of nowhere, hitting the Goblin King right in the chest. Just stood there, completely stunned. He had just taken out a tier 3 monster in one hit. No normal dude just calls down divine thunder like that. Maybe he's actually one of those secret S-rank lightning masters people talk about. Both adventurers woke up and just stared at the Goblin King flat on the ground. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Once everyone realized was the guy who took down the monster, they hurried over, looking pretty embarrassed and trying to make up for what they said earlier. They were clearly on edge as they tried to figure out how he was going to split up the monster loot. Was always on the hunt for more. Whatever was out there, he wanted it all for himself. Even after all their begging, he just tossed a goblin claw to each of them like it was nothing. He picked up everything he'd won, all set to grab his reward. One of them spotted the Goblin King's name up on the wanted board. He got this hungry look, already planning his next move. As soon as bounced, he was gonna cash in on the body himself. Wasn't the type to let stuff like that slide. As soon as he caught the word bounty, he was locked in. He got everything together, grabbed the whole body, and took it straight over to the Hunter Association. He just scored 1,300 spirit orbs as his total reward. They just stood there, unable to do anything, while he took it all for himself. Right before he could leave, reached out and grabbed his hand out of nowhere. Her cheeks turned red while she thanked him, then she wanted to know his name. Dropped his name, then just dipped out. Later on, he made his way to a bathhouse just to chill out. While he was there, he spotted a pendant that the Goblin King had dropped. Even after getting hit by some wild lightning, the pendant hadn't been messed up at all. When he got closer, he could sense some leftover energy from cultivation inside it. Not long after, he knocked out and drifted off to sleep. The pendant hanging on his chest started to light up with a soft glow. After 5,000 years, a fox spirit finally woke up, stepping out from the jade like it had been waiting for this moment forever. She stared at the guy in front of her, kind of caught off guard by how real and solid his vibe was. After being out cold for what felt like forever, he couldn't believe he'd run into something this valuable. He wasn't about to let this chance slip. He was ready to claim his part, no hesitation. The nine-tailed fox leaned closer with that playful grin and planted a kiss on him. While she was soaking up his energy, snapped his eyes open out of nowhere. Even though she was literally made to tempt people, getting caught had her cheeks going red. She bounced back fast, a sly grin showing up on her face. It was obvious he was the one who woke her, so now he had to deal with whatever came next. That's when finally got it. She was actually the real spirit behind the jade pendant. Ching finally got a good look at his face and her heart started beating faster. She couldn't help but smile a little. Dude was actually good looking. She realized she hadn't even noticed while she was focused on drawing his energy. Now she wondered to herself how much he could really handle. She let out a gentle breath and a light pink mist floated out. The air started to ripple and suddenly two illusions popped up, moving around him. Their voices sounded super smooth, almost like they were trying to pull him in. It was like they could tell he was alone and wanted to mess with his head, promising they'd make everything better and leave him totally chill. The illusions closed in, their hands sliding over his chest. He could sense their heartbeat, almost like it was syncing up with his own. He grabbed the sponge and got ready to wash his master's back first. Even with the charm spell totally messing with his head, anyone could see the sadness in Ching's eyes. She looked at the guy and realized if even he couldn't fight it, nobody out there could help her. Deep down, she knew she'd probably end up crashing for another 1,000 years. Didn't budge, he just stared straight ahead, totally unfazed, almost like he was waiting for the other guy to chill out. Ching just stopped dead, her eyes going wide. Out of nowhere, the backlash slammed her and she dropped to her knees, shaking from the pain. About 2 minutes later, she managed to pull herself together and revealed something wild. Her real form was actually the legendary fox pendant. Turns out, she'd spent 1,000 years leveling up just to become human. After the cultivation era wrapped up, he basically went into hibernation, knocked out for ages, until her energy finally woke him up. Earlier, that charm spell was just him checking how strong the other guy's spiritual energy really was. Now, he wanted to know if the dude was actually a cultivator or not. Gave a quick nod. Ching's face turned super pale and sweat started sliding down her forehead. About 10,000 years back, immortals and demons just started going at it. She leaned in close and said something quietly. Nobody made it out alive, every cultivator got taken out. Now all those new groups you see around today started showing up. While he was out cold for thousands of years, not once did he pick up on anyone practicing cultivation. She noticed her hands shaking as she wondered why he hadn't left yet. Scrunched his face, clearly frustrated. He couldn't remember everything, chunks of his past just weren't there. Ching let out a quiet breath, feeling a bit of relief show on her face. She realized she didn't have to worry about dying as long as he was okay. Glancing up, she wondered if he could actually be her master. It was clear he was packing some serious power. She promised to help him find ancient artifacts if he agreed. He agreed right away, not even pausing to think about it. Ching blinked, not expecting him to say yes that fast. She was ready to put herself out there, since his energy was the only thing keeping her going. He just shrugged and said women always messed with his sword skills. For him, grabbing cool artifacts was way more important than chasing spirit energy. The next day, Ching picked up on something strange nearby. He realized there was an artifact close. They squeezed past everyone, making their way forward. They stopped when they spotted it. This giant sword stuck deep in a rock, looking old and legendary, like nobody ever managed to pull it out. Could feel something deep inside him react, like a heartbeat he never noticed before. About 10,000 years back, this memory popped up. Forge Valley went all out, putting everything they had into making this insane divine blade. He made it clear he was the only one who could use it. Everyone called the blade the Wandering Dragon. When it finally landed in the hands of its real owner, the sword would wake up and turn into this azure dragon sword spirit. His sword was still around, even after everything went down in the war. He'd quietly held onto it, making sure it stayed safe the whole time. He moved up to grab it, but the guards jumped in and blocked him. Getting your hands on the holy sword isn't easy. First, you have to clear the trial of the brave. But not just anyone can show up, only people who get the nod from the 4 top families even get a shot. They grab him and start pulling, trying to get him out of there. Right then showed up. The guards just stopped in their tracks. She was the oldest kid from the Steve family, which was one of the top 4 big-name houses around. Her eyes relaxed and she looked over at Shan. She realized he wanted to pull the holy sword, so she decided she'd help him out by writing a recommendation letter. Wanted to know if wanted to get paid. When she told him she didn't, he told her right away to make one for Ching too. Just stopped in her tracks, starting to wonder if something was off between them. The view changed up. They showed up at the trial grounds and right away you could smell all the monsters around. Not long after, let everyone know what the challenge was. The goal was simple: take down 1 tier, drop 3 monsters, and grab the core. Everyone instantly tensed up. The thought of a tier 3 monster had everyone on edge. They all knew just how dangerous that thing could get. A guy walked out. It was Carl from the family. He started messing around, acting like those monsters were nothing, saying they were even weaker than dogs. From the family just shot a nasty look, basically letting everyone know that acting cocky could get someone killed. His words hit Carl hard, trashing his pride and making him seriously mad. When Carl walked by Shan, he glanced down at him, pretty much acting like the Steve family messed up by sending someone who couldn't handle the trial. He was sure he already had this in the bag. As soon as gave the signal, the trial kicked off for real. Spotted 3 different ways he could go, so he grabbed a stick and used it to pick which path to take. He went straight for the riskiest option. Ching felt her chest clench up. She looked over fast, trying to see if he picked up on anything. He figured she just didn't mind getting in his space and was totally chill about it. Something actually shifted right in front of him. Ching looked pretty scared, thinking right away that it had to be a girl ghost. He just brushed it off, figuring it was probably some random girl who got lost. He stretched out his hand to see what was going on. As soon as she spun around, he just swung his fist without even thinking. He couldn't believe it. Standing right there was an actual ghost. Kept thinking it over and his anger just kept building. He told Ching to take off the ghost's clothes. Ching just stood there stunned. He couldn't believe was actually this messed up. Even ghosts had to watch out around him. Before she even realized what was happening, he'd already swiped everything off the ghost. Ching's eyes went wide, watching him mentally figure out how much cash those silk clothes could bring in. Before long, they noticed another ghost hanging around, this one with purple hair. She glanced over her shoulder. As soon as she spotted his pale face, her heart just about stopped. She froze up, totally spooked. That night turned into pure chaos for every ghost lurking in the forest. He didn't leave a single one with their clothes on. Dude just went all in. After that, he made his way deeper into the secret realm, not even slowing down. After hanging out with Ching for a few days, she realized that being around him just made her chill out in a way she couldn't explain. Even with all those monsters around, she wasn't scared anymore. Right then, some seriously good-looking legs showed up right in front of them. A zombie maid stood there, mouth starting to open real slow. No way anyone thought those 2 would actually show up. He glanced over and noticed how skinny the guy was, thinking there's no way someone that small could actually satisfy his hunger. Just stayed chill and let him know that, while she couldn't say what was up with his stomach, his clothes were definitely in trouble. When he spoke, the zombie girl just stopped in her tracks, totally thrown off by his words. He just shrugged, thinking the guy wasn't just clueless but probably couldn't hear right either. Hearing that set the zombie girl off. A glowing red magic circle popped up right behind her. Bats with bright red wings started swarming out everywhere. Right when was ready to attack, some ghostly blue foxfire zipped right by his shoulder. Every spot the fire hit, the bats just turned to ash right away. Ching grinned to himself, kind of surprised that after being out for 1,000 years, his foxfire skills were still locked in. Hyped her up, even telling her she could use this ghost to get some practice in. Getting straight up ignored like that, the zombie girl's veins started popping. She was fuming. She was known as one of the toughest monsters out there, so nobody had ever disrespected her like this before. One moment she was on her own, then suddenly just popped up right in front of her. His hand slipped and ended up touching her chest by mistake. The warmth on her chest made her face light up bright red. She jumped back right away, making sure there was space between them. She yelled at him, calling him a total creep, saying he even goes after ghosts. Gene stayed cool, not stressing at all. His outfit definitely looked like it cost some serious cash. He figured it was better to just take them off now instead of letting them get wrecked. He muttered something to himself, then went all in and dropped his brutal dragon claw move. All the ghost girls caught in his massage combo suddenly freaked out, yelling for someone to save them. Not long after, he got his hands on a real maid outfit. A green monster core fell out of her body. He'd found the exact thing he needed to get through the trial. On the other side, managed to snag his core too. Out of nowhere, he caught a quiet sound coming from behind. That was Carl, the blonde dude from the family. His face looked serious. People said he got his core super fast, pretty lucky. But honestly, this was where things stopped for him. Figured the guy was just making noise like a dog, so he didn't waste time. He pulled out his sword, ready to go at him. Right then, an arrow came out of nowhere and nailed right in the neck. He suddenly got super weak, and before he knew it, Carl took him out with his blade. Turns out Carl had teamed up with young Master John, and the whole accident was just a setup so they could snatch the monster core for themselves. He had no clue what was coming next. Carl just shut him down instantly. There was a noise off in the distance. Carl clocked it right away. The energy in the air was definitely Tier 4 monster vibes. Outside the secret realm, the Saint picked up on something weird going on. He started thinking about cutting the surprise trial short. He just happened to stumble right into that monster tier. At first, the gargoyle tried to play it cool, pretending to be a statue and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. After hearing him say he was gonna take out every monster in Ghost Valley, you just knew he was serious. The gargoyle just lost it. Some random guy with no psychic powers at all was acting tough right in front of him. He just brushed it off. He couldn't look away from the gem sitting on the gargoyle's forehead. He threw a punch and landed it right on the gargoyle. The punch landed hard, launching the gargoyle straight out. The gargoyle just froze up. He was trying to pick up on any psychic vibes from the guy but got nothing, and still, that punch landed way harder than he expected. The gargoyle figured out brute strength wasn't going to cut it, so he started pushing himself way past his limits. The gargoyle didn't fall for any of Kid's usual moves. It was like he could see right through them. Then he showed off his defense, basically unbreakable. He was so tough that if he tried to punch Kid with all his strength, his own hand would probably break before Kid took any damage. When he heard that, he just moved up and swung at the gargoyle, not even caring about whatever noise it was making. He straight up smashed that gargoyle, turning it back to normal like it was nothing. Out of nowhere, this weird demonic energy just rolled through the place. The gargoyle could tell right away that wasn't like everyone else, so it stopped holding back and went full power. It growled and let loose a wave of darkness, ready to take over everything. Picked up right away that something in his asthma wasn't normal, like there was poison in it or something. He didn't waste any time and fired up the golden pearl, throwing a shield around Ching so nothing could touch her. The poison didn't really bother him. He knew one good hit would finish things. The gargoyle kept messing around, acting like he was still the main character even though he was barely hanging on. Just brushed him off and started sketching out talismans right therein. The gargoyle honestly thought he was going insane. Ching's eyes suddenly went wide. She recognized that move right away. It was the Five Thunder Divine technique from the old sect. She froze for a second. This power could legit control lightning, wipe out anything evil, and even help lost souls find their way. It blew her mind that actually had it down. Kept mumbling to himself, and out of nowhere, a bright thunder orb started lighting up in his hand. When the gargoyle spotted the small orb, he just lost it and started laughing. To him, magic without any psychic power was a joke. He couldn't take it seriously, wondering what that tiny ball could even pull off. He looked ready to flex his own skills, totally confident his magic was on a whole other level. Above them, this huge black sphere just showed up out of nowhere. It drifted his way. Wasn't messing around with magic. What he had going on was straight up immortal arts. His thunder orbs blasted ahead, tearing right through the dark sphere like it was nothing. The hit landed right on the gargoyle's face. Destructive energy shot out fast, blasting everything around. Ching just stopped in his tracks, totally stunned by how intense the Five Thunder technique was. Outside the secret realm, the Saint spotted the wild energy storm and instantly thought the monster was behind it. She broke out in a cold sweat and wasted no time calling in an S-class psychic to handle it right away. Once the energy faded, Ghost Valley was just a flat wasteland. The poor gargoyle burned up so bad it looked like a chunk of black charcoal. He lucked out the monster's core was still in one piece, and he knew it'd de-sell for a decent chunk of change. Sat down with his legs crossed, zoning in on clearing out the last bit of poison in his body. Ching just gave a chill smile, letting everyone know he had it covered and nobody needed to stress. Right then, she moved closer and started pulling the poison out of him on her own. Outside the secret realm, the Saint was on guard duty with her squad, holding down the entrance. She spotted walking over, holding what was left of a burnt-up monster in his arms. Nobody moved. Wasn't that the dude with literally no psychic skills? People just stared, trying to figure out how he pulled that off. The Saint froze for a second when he recognized that energy from before. That was definitely his. Turns out he'd been keeping his true strength under wraps the whole time. Meanwhile, up in the sky of the secret realm, someone showed up. It was the one in charge of the gargoyle. He looked out at the wreckage left behind after the fight. She could still pick up on that immortal energy hanging around. The immortals got taken out ages ago, like 10,000 years back. He knew he had to let Lord Demon King know what was up. Not long after, and his crew made their way back into town. He and Carl were the last ones left standing after the trial. Carl landed on the stone platform in front of him. He kept trying to yank the sword out, but no matter how hard he pulled, it didn't move at all. Minutes went by and the thing just stayed locked in place. He ended up quitting. Turns out, the hero's sword is probably just a story people hype up online. People started heading out. They figured if Carl, who was known for being super strong, couldn't budge it, nobody else really stood a chance. As soon as walked up on stage, everything changed. Light exploded from the sword, way brighter than anyone expected. It was clear his master was back. Old memories just started popping up in his head all at once. Turns out this was the same sword he used back in the day, slicing his way from Heaven's South Gate all the way to the eastern islands of Pong. Back in the day, he was grinding hard, leveling up his skills while his sword basically showed off everywhere they went. Together, they made a name for themselves, and everyone in the cultivation world knew their stories. He just reached out and yanked it right out of the stone pillar, no second thoughts. Suddenly, everything lit up with a super bright flash. Out of the sword, a huge azure dragon exploded, its roar echoing like it owned the place. It's been a minute since he's seen Shun Shun. Seeing him again, Shun Shun couldn't help but get a little emotional, probably tearing up for real. The dragon just kept talking, not letting up for a second. He looked over, kind of smug, like he thought everyone was either stunned by how amazing he looked or stuck thinking about the old days when things were actually good. After about 2.5 minutes, just couldn't take it anymore and totally lost it, yelling at the dragon to be quiet. Nobody in the crowd knew what to say. They just watched as the holy sword suddenly turned into a dragon, and then the dragon got chewed out right in front of everyone. When noticed he pulled it off, she hurried over, wanting to give him props right away. Bachin jumped in before anyone else and just wrapped him up in a tight hug. Just stood there not moving an inch. She couldn't stop thinking about how if she just reacted a little quicker, that hub would been hers. While all this was going down, almost got completely buried by his chest. The saint showed up just in time and had his back. He wanted to check out the legendary sword up close. Told her the weapon was super heavy, but she just brushed it off like it was no big deal. Right after that, the holy sword just slipped out of her grip. With a loud crash, it smashed into the ground and left a huge hole behind. The saint noticed right away the sword clearly picked its owner. Everyone else who tried to pick it up couldn't even budge it. Ching was the only one who actually knew what was really going on. Wasn't just some random thing, it was an old, top-level artifact that only people with real cultivation skills could handle. Even though there were still a bunch of relic weapons around, Shan was the last guy who could actually handle them. Right then, Dad pulled up and told to come over for dinner at their place. He started imagining all the cash he could make from that meal, and you could see his eyes light up instantly. He grabs hand, grinning like he was about to win something. Her dad was calling, so it was time to head home for dinner. Before long, they pulled up to the Grand Steve estate. Took one look at the sword's fancy design and was all in. He wanted to get paid right away for just drawing it. Steve didn't even flinch, just smiled and let him set the price. That caught off guard for sure. At the banquet, started talking about the magic cores they picked up earlier. She broke it down, saying people mostly use magic cores to boost their gear. Had a level 4 core on him, and honestly, that thing was worth so much you could straight up buy a whole house in this city with it. When he heard that, he just froze for a second. All he could think was, this is it, I'm about to cash in. He barely had a second to chill before that dragon just straight up gulped down the magic core. He wasn't complaining, actually, he was ready for round 2. Shun Shun, he could definitely eat more. Shun glared at the lizard, totally losing it. The guy just watched the lizard chow down on his house and he couldn't believe it. He pulled that core straight out of a monster's skull, then sent his house back to where it belonged. While they kept arguing, more noble families started showing up, each bringing their own gifts. The first thing that showed up was a property deed loaded with 30,000 spirit orbs. Just like most nobles, always showing off with their money and style. The family came through with a full set of paladin armor. Honestly couldn't care less. He just wanted to sell it and get the money, no hesitation. 3 insanely good-looking maids walked up. They were the family's top picks, hand-trained and chosen just for this. She stayed close, totally ready to do whatever master wanted, acting all sweet and eager. Stuff like that too. Shun, always keeping it cool, didn't even flinch. He just went ahead and sold their stuff too, even tossing in the butler for good measure. The maids just stopped in their tracks. Nothing like this had ever happened to them before. From the Holy Cross Order showed up last. She quietly pinned a knight medal on his chest. That medal was the top badge of respect and power. Basically, everyone knew it meant he was legit. Slid over to, wondering if he could split the reward. Just gave him a chill smile and let him know that wasn't happening. This medal wasn't just for spending, it showed the order respected him now. With it, he could boss around anyone lower than ranked. He really didn't want to, but he couldn't see any other way out, so he just went with it. Once the ceremony wrapped up, walked over to, she had something on her mind. She actually wanted to touch him. She jumped in fast to clear things up. Her magic let her pick up on all sorts of powers, and right now, she was just trying to figure out what he could do. Honestly, a guy with no psychic skills at all just shouldn't be able to pull the holy sword. She put her hand on his chest, but nothing happened. She couldn't sense any psychic energy at all, no matter how hard she focused. He figured he should move in a bit, just to see things better. Her chest bumped right up against him, caught his breath quiet and quick. Out of nowhere, an insane rush of energy slammed into her, taking over her whole body and lighting up every nerve like she just got hit by a wave she couldn't stop. Her legs just quit on her and she dropped to the ground, totally wiped. Seriously, what was that energy supposed to be? Out of nowhere, everything outside went wild. A black dragon was tearing up the city, causing total mayhem. The monster was about to blast her with fire. Moved right in front of her, no pause at all. He was totally locked in, ready to handle whatever was coming. He let out a chill breath and just brushed the flames aside like it was no big deal. He shot her a smug look, basically reminding her not to forget the protection cache later. Just stood there totally lost, cheeks turning red. He realized he didn't have enough spirit orbs, so he started thinking maybe there was another way he could pay the hero back. She barely got the words out before the dragon just took off. Lifted his hand, his vibe serious. He told him to get on his knees, not messing around at all. With just one slap, the beast got knocked straight into the dirt. The moment he grabbed it, he could tell there was some wild energy buzzing through it. Broke the silence and let everyone know that this creature actually went head-to-head in the massive war between immortals and demons. Ages back, it ended up swallowing some ancient artifact, but that just messed it up for thousands of years. The artifact's power kept messing with its head non-stop. When it picked up on his energy, it showed up, hoping he'd help it finally catch a break. Just grinned, then launched the dragon up into the air with a solid kick. He pulled out his sword fast, not wasting a second. With one clean swing, he knocked the relic right out of the dragon, finally setting it free after all that time. Everyone knew about the Mirror of Eternity. It was this old artifact with some wild spatial powers. Inside, someone could stash their loot or even set up camp and level up. The black dragon snapped back to reality, finally free from all the pain it had been stuck in. It couldn't believe what it was seeing. Right in front of him was Shan, the sect master from Screw. The dragon remembered watching this guy go all out against the demon god, fighting to the last second. Then in this weird, almost mysterious way, it basically told him he was the guy, but not 100% the same guy. His face tightened up. Riddles just weren't his thing. Why couldn't people just say what they meant? Meanwhile, the dragon kept staring at him, pointing out that even though he looked the same, something about his whole vibe was totally off. People say his power now isn't anywhere close to what it used to be. Everyone's been wondering what actually went down, and if the demon god is still out there somewhere. Nobody really knew and just brushed it off, acting like there was no way he'd care. Maybe the guy wasn't even around anymore. The dragon lost it and let out this furious roar. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Like, who even dared to disrespect the demon god who literally ran the whole world? To the dragon, those words were straight up disrespectful. Flames exploded out, shooting straight at him. That just made things worse for it. As soon as went up against the dragon's breath, he just straight up swallowed the entire blast of fire. The beast just shrank down fast, ending up like a dried up shell. Grabbed the magic core, holding it up to get to actually say something. He wanted real answers, so he used the core to make talk. The sword spirit let out a deep sigh, realizing it was finally time to share what was really going on. Turns out he's just a small piece of the sect master's soul, a random spark of consciousness that somehow woke up on its own. Had always been passed out inside the tree, so yeah, the explanation actually checked out. He woke up when a blast of lightning from the sky hit, and this massive holy tree had his back, blocking out any evil stuff trying to mess with him. Because of that, he got his mind straight again. Finally let everyone know where that soul fragment actually came from. About 10,000 years back, the demon world dropped someone no one could touch. The demon god showed up, and nothing was the same after that. The high priest had called it, said he'd get taken out by a cultivator, but the demon god wasn't having any of that. He straight up refused to accept his fate and his whole army, launching an all-out attack on the immortal realm. Was the last one still standing when everyone else was down for the count. He was the of sect, holding it down till the very end. During the last fight, he basically trapped the demon god inside himself, and both of them ended up going out together. Had trained in the secret art before, so his soul was split into 9 pieces and spread all over the world. Now that he carried the title of sect master, it felt like fate was pushing him to bring the cultivation world back to its prime. To make that happen, he needed to track down every single soul fragment he'd lost. He just shook his head and didn't even bother pretending to care. That kind of responsibility, he was out, let someone else deal with it, not his issue. He could tell logic wasn't getting through to him at all. They decided to switch things up. The sect master had stashed a ton of rare artifacts before he disappeared. If they could track down these memory shards, those treasures would basically be up for grabs. Each shard was like hitting the jackpot. Money's eyes started shining right away. He was all in, no need to talk it out. He wanted those soul fragments first, but the cash was definitely on his mind too. Over in the demon realm, a witch let the demon god know that a cultivator just showed up in the mortal world. The demon god's red eyes got sharp, zeroing in like he was about to do something wild. Calls the shots. Back in the city, couldn't help but notice how kept grabbing her attention. Even though she wanted to act on what she felt, she pushed it all down because she was a nun from the Holy Cross Order. Felt that sting in her chest just thinking about it. He was heading out tomorrow and it honestly sucked how much that got to her. She wondered if tonight was the right time to tell him how she felt. Outside the room, Ching could tell she was holding back. The fox spirit, even though he felt a bit jealous, still decided to step in and help out. He quietly dropped a charm spell, keeping it so no one would really notice. The room started to fill up with this light pink mist, floating in the air like someone just dropped a filter on everything. Sighs relaxed and she just zoned out for a second, looking like she was daydreaming. She walked up too, her voice shaking because she was really worked up. He didn't want this moment to just fade away. Before the other person left, he hoped they'd drop something that would stick with him, a memory he wouldn't forget anytime soon. He instantly knew who set this up, that fox again. Seeing his red face and shaking lips, he couldn't bring himself to say no. Turning her down just seemed way too harsh in that moment. The next morning, headed out, but right there in his path was Carl, the dude with that troublemaker vibe just standing in his way. Carl wasn't rolling solo this time. His mom, Jenny, tagged along. She's not just any mom, she's an S-rank psychic and seriously wanted that holy sword for herself. He showed up with the dads of the two guys he'd killed. People started pointing fingers at, saying he was the one behind it. Thing is, both of them were S-rank, so this was no small beef. Just started laughing. S-rank or not, he was all about his cash, and nothing was going to get between him and his money. Anyone trying to mess with his bag wasn't going to last long. Energy burst out all around him, wild and loud, just like a thunderstorm lighting up the whole place. Smirked and called out a thunderbird like it was nothing. Went all in with his thunder dragon pierce, ripping the creature straight up. Alan had his timing down, getting his shield up right when he needed it. He used up almost everything he had just to push back the blast, barely managing to hold on. Both of them just stood there, eyes wide open. That was the moment they really got how far apart they were. Jenny wasn't having it. She just rolled her eyes and snapped at him, basically calling him useless. The whip snapped out fast. Rain hammered down, each drop coming in hard like it was out to tear him apart. Carl couldn't hide his massive grin. Messing with his mom, yeah, that was a mistake. When everything settled down, was still standing there, not even scratched, his shield catching the light like nothing even happened. He noticed the whips and just grinned to himself, thinking they were kind of funny. But his eyes went straight to the outfit. Yeah, that thing looked expensive. He figured he'd rather just grab the outfit for himself. Jenny's face turned bright red for a second, then all the color drained out. She spun around and just booked it, sprinting as fast as she could. Carl just stood there, totally stuck as panic started to kick in. Nobody from the 3S ranks even comes close to him. Was done waiting, he was over it, ready to show off his new undressing sword move to Blondie. Two quick flashes cut through the air. Out of nowhere, Carl caught a cold breeze right as all his clothes just fell to pieces. His face went bright red as he lost it, eyes locked on the other guy. Getting called out like that hit his pride hard, and you could tell he was ready to throw hands. Just brushed him off and looked straight at Carl's mom, sending a clear warning with his eyes. Don't even think about moving. Jenny froze, totally got the wrong idea and snapped, reminding him her son was grown up now and that nothing was ever gonna happen between them. As she got heated, magic circles popped up around her hands. All around, a bunch of glowing shots shot through the air, lighting everything up. Let out a sigh, he just wanted the outfit. Honestly, it looked pricey and really cool. Now people were acting like he was some kind of creep. He gave this sly grin like he was totally locked in on his plan. Deciding to just go for it, he rushed forward and cut right through her belts without hesitating. He moved fast, snatching the whip from her side before she even knew what was happening. In seconds, he had her tied up tight, no chance for her to break free. Jenny just stopped in her tracks, shaking a little as her mind started racing. She couldn't help thinking, man, why'd she have to end up looking this good? Carl yelled out, calling the beast out and telling it to let his mom go. Both of the last S-ranks finally stepped up, showing off everything they had. The knight let out a heavy breath, and his armor made these tired, creaky noises. He brought his huge sword down hard, yelling as he did it. Stopped the attack without breaking a sweat. The power was there, honestly it could probably break a mountain. But to him that was nothing special, he still saw the guy as weak. He showed up out of nowhere in the dark and swung his blade. The giant crashed down, slamming into the ground like a building getting wrecked. The body landed right on top of Carl, pinning him down. Had been building up his energy for a while, but suddenly his face went pale. Right away, he could tell this guy was on another level, straight up a monster. He took off fast, hoping he could actually get away this time. Popped up out of nowhere and grabbed him by the throat before he could even react. Out of nowhere, lightning crashed down from the sky. Lightning crashed down, got completely fried just as left where he stood. Turned around to face Jenny, realizing she was the last one left. She froze up for a second, her words stumbling out. She was ready to do whatever it took, whatever was asked of her. He grinned and grabbed a piece of paper from his pocket, ready for the next step. He looked at the number 9 billion spirit stones for a dead note. For real, that price was insane. She saw her son's body wrecked and lifeless, and her hands started shaking as she let out a heavy sigh. He belayed, leaving her stuck and tied up. With barely any strength, she crawled over to Carl, her eyes full of tears. Out of nowhere, something big blocked the light above her. The witch who showed up straight out of the demon realm. She found out was heading east, so she lifted her staff, ready for whatever was coming. A huge meteor slammed into the ground and wiped out everything in its path. Walked off, not realizing what just happened, already thinking about how he'd grab his payment later. Ching let out a sigh. It finally made sense why he was all about chasing cash. The air in this world was messed up, full of demonic vibes, so normal energy was basically useless. Only spirit stones still had that pure power. For him, stacking up spirit stones wasn't just about getting rich, it was how he stayed alive. He noticed it was getting late and they'd been out walking for hours. He could tell she was probably tired, so he suggested they crash together for the night. He noticed her face turning red and quickly tried to clear things up. He wanted her to chill out and know he just needed her skills to find the artifacts. He definitely didn't want her getting tired or anything. They decided to crash inside the 1000 Autumn Mirror for the night since it was roomy and chill. But as soon as they got in, his brain just started spinning with all these weird thoughts. She stepped outside, hoping some fresh air would help her chill out. As soon as she stepped out, people jumped her. As soon as she picked up on the energy around Ching, the witch locked in and instantly figured out Ching was the cultivator from Ghost Valley. The witch didn't wait around, she just went for it and started her attack right away. Ching went all in during the fight, but it didn't take long for her to see she was outclassed. No matter what she tried, she just couldn't keep up. She got stuck with nowhere to run and started begging them to let her go. After hearing what the witch said, she finally got what was really going on. The demon god wasn't at full strength anymore. He was basically just a shell of his old self, and he needed to get his lost artifacts back if he wanted to be powerful again. This meant they had to track down the fragments before the demon lord got to them, so he could get his powers back first. Once Ching realized her plan actually worked, she went all in and used up every bit of strength she had left. Out of nowhere, heavy smoke started taking over the whole place. The witch breathed it in and her eyes went all blurry like she just spaced out. She started daydreaming about the demon god, imagining him telling her to be his girl, and saying they should kick off their whole ritual thing right away. She was caught off guard and started fumbling, asking the demon god for a second so she could get herself together. Ching noticed his chance and didn't hesitate. He powered up his foxfire, ready to finish things right then and there. Right as she was about to attack, the witch got her first. The witch used raw pain to snap her out of the illusion spell, not holding back at all. The witch realized her illusion was so good it basically had her hooked. It felt so real she didn't even want to snap out of it. But deep down she hadn't counted on just how loyal she was to the demon god. She knew the demon god was supposed to run the show across all 3 realms. For her, he was someone way out of her league, someone she could only look up to from a distance. She wasn't letting anyone mess with him. Out of nowhere she yelled and these stone pillars just blasted straight at Ching. Ching felt her stomach drop. No way she was giving in now. After being out for so long, there was just no shot she'd let it end here. She freaked out and started yelling for Tyne, hoping he'd jump in and help her out. Showed up right when it mattered. He moved fast, breaking all the stone pillars until nothing was left but dust. Then he let her know she shouldn't go off on her own and should just hit him up next time if she wants someone to walk with. Ching couldn't hold back anymore. Her tears just started rolling down. After that, her heart finally chilled out and stopped racing. The witch stopped in her tracks as soon as she saw his face. Seriously looked just like the demon god. No cap, the resemblance was wild. The witch saw him and instantly knew he was the cultivator Jenny talked about. Without wasting a second, she just lost it and decided everyone there had to go. Chunks of rock came flying at him from everywhere. He stared down, knowing the sand would tear right through him, every bit of it cutting deep until there was nothing left. He's not giving anyone a chance to react. Things are about to get wild, and if you're in the way, you're done before you even realize what's happening. Right then, a bright shield popped up around. The witch just froze. She'd thrown out her biggest move, but a basic shield stopped it like it was nothing. As soon as she brought up Jenny, instantly wanted to know if she got home all right. He was clearly worried about her. The witch just stood there completely stuck, like her whole world just glitched out. Started to get annoyed. He raised his voice, making it clear he wanted an answer and wasn't about to wait around. His punch blasted right through her, not even slowing down. That's when it hit her. Cultivators are actually on another level. One hit and she was totally out of the game. He stared him down, voice straight up icy. He wanted answers about what happened to Jenny, and this was the last shot. He found out she was gone. He suddenly got fired up inside. The witch started shaking. His energy went off the charts, like he was channeling some demon god or something, totally overwhelming and impossible to ignore. She got herself together fast, lifting her finger to the sky and sending all her power straight up. Right after that, tons of meteors started dropping from the sky, each one coming in heavy like they could flatten anything in their way. Nothing touched Shan. He just stood there totally unfazed. The spirit dragon pulled its jaws wide open. He just kept taking in every single meteor crater, like he couldn't stop himself. The witch dropped to her knees, totally wiped out. Going up against a cultivator was on a whole other level. She never stood a chance. She started to realize why the high priest's prophecy said the demon god was doomed. For a second she wondered if he was really the one who'd take him down. Pulled out the debt note and kept his cool. Since Jenny was gone, the IOU didn't matter anymore. Now he wanted 9 billion spirit stones as payment. The witch started shaking her head fast, trying to say she was totally broke. Shun let out a deep breath and grabbed her gear back using a spiritual artifact, staying calm and focused the whole time. She was totally embarrassed and started yelling, saying she'd lost, and if he was gonna finish her off, just do it already. But she couldn't get why he had to mess with her clothes. She thought it was just straight up shameless. She thought he could win her over just by taking her body, but her loyalty was set. Her heart was only for the demon god. Tears started streaming down her face as reality hit her hard. Didn't even look at her. For him, anyone messing with Qing was done for. A ball of lightning showed up next to the witch. Lightning tore through the sky and just like that she vanished, nothing left but ash. Turned around because of Qing. He noticed her body was marked up with cuts and bruises. He figured he should get her some help, maybe find a place to treat her injuries. Before he could move though, Qing quietly let him know that if he used his own spiritual energy, she'd be alright. She knew chilling in a hot spring would get it into her system way quicker. A few minutes later, they pulled up to this hidden spring, way out of sight. Qing told him to lose the clothes so the energy could run smoother. Started channeling his energy and suddenly his presence just exploded, like a wild storm breaking loose. Qing moved in close, leaning her body right up against him. After about 2.5 minutes soaking in that spiritual boost, her injuries just disappeared like nothing ever happened. Meanwhile, looked wiped out, barely hanging on. Not long after, they got back on the move, ready to hunt down the next artifact. Since that night, Qing was always around him, sticking closer than before. Right then, Qing picked up on the low-key vibe of a super strong artifact nearby. People said it might actually be one of those old-school treasures from the sect. Some thugs were on the hunt, running after a young elf girl. She was backed into a corner with no way out, so she called up a bunch of glowing butterflies to shield herself. The thugs just started cracking up, making fun of her. They didn't think those flashy lights were anything to worry about. Suddenly, their bodies started to shrivel up and lose all their strength. The elf girl shut it down real quick. She let everyone know that messing with elves was a bad move, and these guys clearly had no clue what kind of danger they just walked into. Out of nowhere, 2 guys stepped out of the dark, looking like total punks but way stronger than anyone else around. The second group came in way stronger than the first, like they'd seriously leveled up. Aurora clenched her jaw, ready to make the first move. She knew she had to go for it before anyone else did. Butterflies shot out from her hands and flew straight at the 2 enemies, catching them totally off guard. The girl in leopard print just summoned a tornado out of nowhere, and all the butterflies got pulled in, spinning everywhere and losing control. Aurora's face got serious real quick. Right then, a bright beam shot down from the sky, showed up with Qing right behind him. Qing picked up on something coming off Aurora right away. He could tell it was the vibe of a spiritual artifact. Moved in, checking her out from head to toe, but still couldn't figure out where she stashed the artifact. Out of nowhere, his eyes sparked up. He started thinking, no way could it really be stashed right there. Both punk warriors, ticked off that no one was paying attention to them, rushed in, ready to flex what they could do. They charged straight at him, making a ton of noise. Didn't say a word, he just slapped the guy, plain and simple. Both of them got launched and just kept spinning around for like 2.5 minutes straight. He hit the ground hard and just wiped out. Didn't waste a second, he grabbed his artifact and got their gear back like it was nothing. Aurora's cheeks turned red as she started to get anxious, thinking she might be up next. Had that grin on his face, the kind that let everyone know he was up to something. She jerked back and instantly tried to say she was just a kid, hoping that would get her out of trouble. After everything got sorted out, Aurora laid it all out. Her people were in charge of protecting this legendary spot called the Fountain of Life, and the water there was basically magic. It could literally bring new elves into the world. Started putting things together. He figured the crazy energy coming from the fountain had to be connected to some artifact. That would explain why Aurora always had that unreal vibe around her. Bad news, now the spring was totally taken over by a bunch of tentacle monsters. Nobody could get close without getting jumped right away. If things kept going like this, the elves might not even make it. When heard what was going on, he knew he had to get involved. That fountain was worth serious cash, and there was no way he was about to let those monsters hang on to it. On the way to the elf village, Aurora kept checking out Shan when she thought no one was looking, but Qing kept catching her every time. Her cheeks turned red. She told him that her tribe only had women, so she'd never been around a guy like this before. Honestly, she was just curious. Just let out a quiet sigh in his head. Sometimes being good-looking honestly felt like a curse, but as long as nobody pulled up trying to take his stuff, he figured he could just keep it moving. Once they made it out of the forest, they stepped into a place that looked unreal, like straight-up paradise. Every elf looked so good, it was almost hard to stare straight at them. As soon as everyone found out was actually a guy, the whole village basically lost it and crowded around him, hyped to see see what he'd do next. He checked the guy out and thought, okay, that's what a real man looks like. Dude was good looking, no lie. His heart instantly started beating faster. The spirit dragon slid into the room, laughing to himself. For him, this place was straight up paradise. He put it out there for everyone to see. Anyone who wanted to try riding the great dragon could just show up. No restrictions, no gatekeeping, just an open invite for whoever was down. Stared him down, eyes icy. In his head, he wondered if taking out this weird lizard would also get rid of the sword. It didn't take long before the elf princess showed up, looking all graceful. The second she looked at him, her mouth dropped open and drool started running down her chin. Aurora jumped into host mode, moving to give her guests the tour. Meanwhile, she left to talk about the fountain one-on-one with the guy, not wanting anyone else around. Ching frowned, picking up on something weird in the way the princess talked. It didn't really sound like the usual formal stuff. Inside the chamber, the elf princess flashed a confident smile. It was just the two of them now, and she was ready to show off what made her stand out. Her pulse was going nuts. She couldn't explain it, but there was just something about him that seemed off, like his energy wasn't all there. Kept his face blank, not showing anything. She figured he was just being shy, so she started taking his clothes off for him. The elf princess caught a glimpse of his 8-pack, and honestly she was drawn in. She just had to get closer and kissed him. Right when it looked like their lips were about to touch, he pulled back and stopped her. Grabbed her shoulders and threw her onto the bed like it was nothing. He kept his cool, staying totally locked in. In his mind, he was all about doing the right thing. He believed getting involved with girls would just mess with his focus. Her face got even redder instead of mad. Honestly, what just happened felt awesome, and she kind of wanted him to do it again. Shun just stopped in his tracks. He never heard anyone ask for something that wild before. The elf princess finally opened up about what was weighing on her. Turns out she was stuck guarding the fountain of life forever, no way out. She was stuck in that forest, always wanting to see what was out there. Wishing she could check out the bright, wild world beyond the trees, but knowing she couldn't ever actually leave. When heard that, he paused for a second and honestly felt kinda bad. He brushed off any pity and figured she probably needed to learn something. He shook his head, not budging at all. Sticking to what he believes, he wasn't about to back down just like that. The second she took out this gold jade that looked crazy valuable, his confidence just crumbled. He could tell right away that thing was worth a ton. He flashed a quick grin, ready to jump in. He was locked in and waiting for the go-ahead. His energy just went wild. He was about to show everyone exactly what he could do, and he was all in. The elf princess spent the whole night leveling up her powers, and by morning she was way ahead of everyone else. The other elves noticed, and you could tell they were kind of salty about it. Pretty soon, every elf in the tribe was lining up, all hoping to get a shot at training with him. The princess ended up pulling him back into her room, and that's when the spirit dragon, who was honestly kind of a creep, shifted back into sword form. The elves watching were totally stunned. Just a second ago he was massive, and now out of nowhere he was just a sword. The spirit dragon acted all confident, basically saying this was light work. After eating a magic core, it could straight up turn into any beast it wanted. Out of nowhere there was a loud bang, and suddenly it turned into a ghost maid. A few seconds later, it suddenly turned into a witch. It really thought it had the girls on its side and tried to get them to hang out, but they just shut it down. All their attention was on, he was the one everyone was watching. Ching saw what was happening and honestly couldn't believe it, but found it kind of funny too. Still, she knew she had to stay focused and couldn't let herself get sidetracked. 2.5 minutes were already gone, hadn't shown up yet. Ching heard some sounds from inside and started getting worried about what might be happening to him. She started thinking maybe the princess was just messing with to see what he'd do, kind of putting him through his paces. The scene jumps over to the wild bass. The Sham 8 crew started hyping up their story, making it sound way crazier than it really was. The leader pinned everything that went wrong on their own squad, saying they just weren't strong enough. When she saw her chance, the girl in the leopard print spoke up, clearly annoyed. She couldn't believe how messed up that guy was. He took them out, embarrassed them in front of everyone, and even pulled off her favorite leopard outfit. She was counting on the leader to get payback for her. The guy with the pompadour just lost it. He was the leader, but even he had never caught her like that. Seeing some random dude get that close, that was a whole new level of disrespect. Seeing how the leader responded, the girl in leopard print got even bolder and started calling out for kidnapping elven women. That claim just set the pompadour dude off. He legit couldn't wrap his head around anyone targeting elves like that. He jumped up fast and told his guys to get ready. They were about to track down the losers who caused all this. A second later, Aurora came flying through the door, looking like she just saw something wild. She had news. There were invaders all over the place outside the village. She just stopped in her tracks. In front of her, the elf princess was sprawled out on the bed in a way that was straight up embarrassing. Aurora's cheeks turned bright red, and she quickly shut the door, her heart racing. The elf princess rushed to clear things up, letting everyone know she was just checking if it was strong enough to keep the village safe. At the same time, the wild squad was pushing forward hard, totally locked in and not slowing down at all. The second the pompadour leader laid eyes on the elves, their looks totally threw him off. He zoned out, totally caught up. These girls, all absolute stunners, legs for days. The elf girls took one look at the dude with the wild hair spike and instantly turned away, looking totally unimpressed. To them he was just not it, no interest, not even for a second. The Pompadour just got even angrier after hearing what they said. He told Captain Maul to take the elves back to camp, deciding he'd handle the questioning himself. His crew didn't waste a second, they rushed in right away. Out of nowhere, a massive explosion slammed down from the sky, shaking everything around. The attackers got wiped out instantly. The elf princess showed up. Her eyes went cold, almost like she was on another level. She stared right at them, looking down on everyone like they were nothing. These people messed with her family, and she made it clear she wasn't about to let it slide. If they bylaid now, maybe one of them would walk away. He wasn't listening at all. He just zoned out, totally focused on how good she looked. He couldn't help but think she was perfect. The book wasn't lying, elves really are on another level. He noticed standing right next to her. His craving turned into pure rage. He couldn't believe someone had yanked his dream right out from under him. In his mind, this was the last straw, someone had to pay for this. The Pompadour guy didn't waste any time. He just charged right at Shan. The elf princess didn't hold back. She launched him straight into the air. She wasn't about to let anyone mess with her guy like that. It finally hit him. He wasn't the only S-rank in this place. When Shan saw her stepping in to back him up, he frowned. That was supposed to be his battle. Deep down, he was ready to handle it himself, even if it meant pulling that annoying hair out and taking the hit alone. The princess gave a sly smile. She looked like she knew exactly what she was doing, thinking his power was way too good for people like that. He hoped they'd keep it safe until he could grab it himself. Just froze, so it turns out she's the actual weirdo here. The princess started getting more pissed off every second. He was almost done, just about to wrap it up. She thought he messed up the whole thing, calling him a bug. She started charging up some crazy bright energy in her hands. She was set on wrapping things up quick so she could get back to Shan. Bright light shot out from her hands, lighting up everything around her. The Pompadour was still sitting at S rank, so it wasn't enough to take him out. He took a breath, locked in, and got ready to fight. He stomped his foot down, and out of nowhere, a massive boulder shot up from the ground. He let out a loud yell and slammed his fist right into it. Shards flew straight at the elf princess, coming in fast like someone just pressed the turbo button. She pushed them out of the way. He slipped in from where no one could see him coming. He swung hard and slammed his fist right into her stomach. The hit landed, but it turned out she wasn't even there. She'd already swapped herself out with a decoy. Suddenly, she was right over him. Her lips slowly opened. It was like this unreal glow just showed up. The whole moment felt like something wild was about to go down under the moon. Out of nowhere, some crazy power dropped from above and totally wiped out the Pompadour, leaving nothing but some glowing dust floating in the air. Even in the S-rank squad, there's a clear gap. The dude with the Pompadour just scraped by, but the elf princess, she was on top like actually maxed out. His crew watched their boss get turned to dust right in front of them, and they just dipped, totally freaked out. The elf princess noticed the fight had wrapped up, so she looked around to keep the conversation going with. But just like that, he was already gone. Dude disappeared before she even realized it. The wild squad, after getting wrecked, pulled themselves together and started plotting. They were already thinking about bringing in some S-rank heavy hitters to get payback. Never just let things slide. He understood that letting the enemy escape would only cause problems later, so he made sure to set up a trap right where they'd try to run. He really couldn't help himself, just kept coming back for more trouble. The elf princess had let him off the hook before, but he was already scheming up another raid like he never learned. Veins popped on the guy with the Pompadour. Losing to the elf princess didn't even bother him, but seeing this good-looking dude just fired him up. He was locked in, ready to take him down himself. He took off, yelling as he ran, throwing his fist straight ahead. Just stood there, totally unfazed. Out of nowhere, a sharp slap landed and spun the guy around. It finally hit the guy with the Pompadour. He messed with someone he definitely shouldn't have. He wasn't having it. He went all in and dropped his strongest move right then, not holding back at all. On Shun's side, it was over quick. Everyone knows villains never last. They always start running their mouths and get smoked for it. One clean hit and it was game over. The dragon sword spirit rushed in, tearing through the last thugs like it was nothing. Everyone could hear them yelling, but it was over quick. None of them stood a chance against his blade. Wasn't ready to quit. He looked over at Qing, ready to make their next move. He wanted to check out the enemy camp, thinking that's probably where they kept all the best loot. Somewhere else, the red-haired girl got split up from her squad. She barely had time to react before this tentacle monster popped up and grabbed her, moving crazy fast. She stared, totally stunned, like she just saw something out of a nightmare right in her own world. You could see it in her eyes. She was losing hope fast. She just stood there frozen while the creature's gross tentacles started crawling over her skin. One by one, they made her whole body go numb, and there was nothing she could do about it. As soon as she blacked out, the careful beast wasted no time and stretched its jaws wide open. The monster gulped her down in one go. Not long after, its whole body started glowing with this weird purple light, and then just like that, it shifted shape until it looked exactly like her. suddenly picked up on some wild energy in the air and glanced out toward the horizon. He realized that was where the spring of life was. He started thinking, no way, did already make a move and head over there. Her mind started running, and she couldn't help but picture him getting grabbed by some giant tentacle monster. Her face turned red. She told everyone to stick with her, they were about to go save. Aurora stopped her right away. She told her sister they needed to get ready first, since those tentacle beasts were basically built to take them down. He didn't bother with the waiver, none of that mattered right now. The monsters could wait, saving his guy was all that was on his mind. She really got everyone fired up. The elves started cheering together, all on the same page. They knew what had to be done, save the guy first. Their hero couldn't go down now. Not long after, the elves started moving through the trees, looking everywhere and calling out for, didn't wait for anyone. He just stepped into the forest by himself. She kept walking, her thoughts drifting. That last study session just didn't cut it. She really wanted another solid hangout with him to go deeper into their work. Her cheeks started to turn red right as a bunch of tentacles slid out from behind her. She didn't even notice at first, the slimy things were already locked around her left arm. When she finally glanced down, she just stared at them, totally chill, not even fazed. The tentacle monsters behind her started laughing, thinking this was their big moment. They had their eyes on the elf princess. If they could take her down, they were sure they'd level up to tier 5, like it was all part of their plan. Right when they thought it was time to chill, lightning ripped across body. He wasn't having any of it and made it clear these weaklings had no shot at holding him down. Thunder crashed, she sent out a blast of lightning. One moment there were a bunch of tentacle monsters swarming around. Next thing they all just burned up and turned to dust. Left seemed unstoppable, just handling everything thrown his way, but the other elves didn't have it that good. The endless tentacles just took over, leaving them totally outmatched. Anyone who got snagged by those things was stuck. No matter how hard they tried, their powers just wouldn't work with those sticky coils wrapped around them. The elven warriors went all in, ready to throw down for Princess, but their enemies were way too strong. In the end, each elf got tied up no matter how hard they tried. The monsters just started laughing, not holding back at all. No matter how much he tried to fight, they made it clear they owned this place now. It wouldn't be long before his village got taken over, and every elf there would end up joining the tentacle clan just like the rest. Over on the other side, the tentacle monsters were practically drooling, already imagining how good those elves were gonna taste. The elf princess stepped down hard, snapping one under her heel. Everyone else just froze, completely silent. Blinding energy surrounded him as he stared down hard. He couldn't believe they were still bold enough to attack the village after everything. He hadn't even gotten payback for what happened at the Spring of Life yet. Two of the creatures froze up. That one getting stepped on was just talking trash, nothing serious. Really wasn't trying to hear any excuses right now. Lightning ripped through the sky. Lightning just wiped out every single tentacle beast instantly. Aurora stood there shaking, feeling bad about everything. She knew she messed up and basically admitted it was her fault for slowing things down. While her sister was stressing over, Aurora realized they'd only made things harder for her. Left just grinned like she was saying, these are her people, and looking out for them is just what she does as the princess. Even though she tried to shake it off, she kept thinking about, for some reason, he just seemed way more important than anyone else, almost like everything was meant to play out this way. Out of nowhere, this giant tentacle monster popped up from the ground, its red tendrils looking wild. Turns out the elf princess was the one taking out its kids. The beast looked at her with a nasty grin like it was ready to throw down. His face pretty much gave everything away. He looked like he was starving for it. Anyone could tell dude was down bad. Squinted when she spotted bits of the red-haired woman the thing had eaten. So that's what made that crazy energy go off earlier. She'd straight up thought it was Shan for a second. Honestly, that was just a waste of her time and energy. She hovered over the chaos, giving everyone a serious look that said she wasn't messing around. It was clear nobody should disrespect their queen. If someone pushed his buttons, he was ready to turn them into takoyaki without even blinking. Right under her, the spell lit up and blasted out a huge surge of energy, launching it straight at the monster. She couldn't believe it. Right out of the gate, she just dropped her ultimate move. The creature tucked itself in tight, wrapping its whole body up like it was building armor around itself. The blast almost took it out, but it somehow held together. The round lump started shaking, pieces of its flesh dropping off. He could feel how strong that move was. Without their ability to heal, he knew he'd be done for. The creature let out a sharp hiss. As Fury could feel himself getting even more fired up after hearing that. She looked at him like he was clueless, not even trying to hide her attitude. For her, talking about love or feelings with a slime just didn't make sense. The monster let out this deep, creepy laugh. He didn't care about love at all. He thought that was for weaklings. All he cared about was the tentacle clan and figuring out where people's weak spots were. Out of nowhere, the tentacle lord blasted out an acid jet. Green goo shot out of its mouth, covering and making her all sticky and shiny. She wasn't impressed at all. Was that really supposed to be the big attack? Just some random slime. The creature let out a nasty hiss, basically saying anyone trash-talking his moves was asking for trouble. He pointed out this wasn't just any regular slime, it was something he made himself, built just to mess up whoever got in its way. This stuff just eats through clothes. Just like everyone guessed, Black stockings started ripping. The attack was straight up nasty. Just laughed to himself instead of freaking out. Too bad Shun wasn't around to watch this go down. When the monster noticed her cheeks turning red, it looked pretty confident, thinking it had the upper hand. It figured her clothes wouldn't last much longer and threw a smug look her way. She figured elves didn't stand a chance, especially since nobody can really throw hands when they're not wearing anything. Out of nowhere, it spat out another wave of green acid. Slime stuck to the elves, eating through their armor and making it sizzle away. They were shaking, totally stuck, and couldn't move at all. He saw the other guy struggling, not even able to keep up, so he decided to just finish things right there. Today, the elf tribe just fades into legend. The thing's body tore open, and suddenly a ton of twisting tentacles started shooting out, all heading straight for them. The elves totally freaked out, they just couldn't do anything to protect themselves. From above, dropped down with serious energy, almost like she owned the whole place. Light shot out from her, slicing through every tentacle in her way, and it was clear nothing could stop her right then. Aurora couldn't believe what she was seeing. Right in front of her was her own sister, and not just anyone but the elf princess. The tentacle lord just stopped cold. This wasn't supposed to happen. His info said elves were supposed to be shy and innocent, so he figured she'd totally break down from the embarrassment. She used to be totally different. Something must changed her. Gave a quick smirk. He could tell the other guy didn't see it coming. Those cheap moves that used to work just weren't cutting it anymore. After spending time studying with, he felt like he'd leveled up for real. Stuff like being covered in slime or having his clothes get wrecked just didn't hit as hard as getting smacked around by. That guy's hits were on a whole different level. He could feel that raw, intense energy like real power. That's when he realized what real embarrassment and excitement were all about. The tentacle lord's face turned bright red. He stared at the so-called pure elf, clearly not buying it. Everyone around him looked at him like he'd just let everybody down big time. The monster let out a loud roar and smashed the ground. Out of nowhere, these huge tentacles shot up from below. It looked like it was ready to give him exactly what he asked for. Out of nowhere, every tentacle snapped toward, coming at him like a wild storm. To her, this was nothing serious. Every weak hit just fell apart against her. Limbs got sliced off and dropped down all around like it was no big deal. She watched those weak hits, not even close to what Tyne and strength could do. She couldn't help but scoff, knowing those guys played on a whole different level. He's the only one who can actually make his queen happy. The tentacle lord just stopped in his tracks, totally stunned. Nobody would believe it. Seriously, who could have guessed a guy could make an elf princess lose her mind like that? The elves around just froze up for a second. They realized the princess and were actually tight. Some of the guys started thinking, man, dude's got it good. For a second, one of them wondered what it'd be like to be in his shoes, but then just dropped it. Left S wasn't messing around, his voice boomed through the room. He wasn't falling for any cheap moves this time, and you could tell he was ready to go all out. Today, he decided he's the one who's finally ending the beef between the elves and his people. She shot ahead, totally fired up. The tentacle lord let out a loud roar, staring her down. He was a tier 5 beast and couldn't believe she was acting like he wasn't a big deal. It could tell her power was on another level, so it blasted out this heavy black mist. His left arm cut clean through the darkness, taking everything out in one smooth move. There was no way he was getting away. She had already called him out, and her last hit had landed for real. She went after him without slowing down, lightning snapping all around her like the universe was calling him out. At the same time, was going through the bandit camp, grabbing anything valuable he could find. Deep in the dungeon, he came across a bunch of women locked up behind bars. He snapped their chains, but the group just stayed on their knees, totally out of it. They acted like he was in charge now, doing whatever he wanted if it meant avoiding trouble. They didn't want to mess things up and get hurt again. The little fox next to him just froze, eyes wide. Whatever these people went through must have been next level to end up like that. His face tightened. Those things could easily go for some serious cash, but he let out a deep breath, then told him he was good to go and could head home. The slaves just stood there, not moving, totally caught off guard. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. Someone was actually letting them walk free. Kept it chill. He was all about making cash, but he wasn't messing with shady deals. He basically told everyone to get on with their own lives. Tears ran down their cheeks as they looked at him. Deep down, they knew they'd always remember what he did for them. From now on, he was like a second dad, someone they'd never forget. Cleared out all the coins from the bandit camp, but you could tell he wasn't hyped about it. The little fox cocked her head, looking like she was trying to figure out if he was missing something big. He grinned, looking pretty fired up. He knew he'd just scored the best thing there was. He looked around at the huge base and thought it would be dumb to just leave it behind. Swung his blade once and the whole camp just split apart. He popped open the eternal mirror, and just like that, the whole base got sucked in by this crazy burst of light. While all this was happening, was locked in on chasing the tentacle lord, following him straight to the spring of life. She spotted the sacred spring, but it was trashed, water all dark and gross. Right then her whole vibe shifted, eyes going stone cold. He just messed with their sacred spring, and yeah, that was crossing the line. No way they were letting that slide. The tentacle lord popped up with his smug laugh, clearly thinking he had everything figured out. He made it obvious he wasn't worried about getting taken out. He called her princess and started flexing about the spring. Turns out that spot isn't just for making new elves, it can work on any other girl too. That's the whole reason they took over the place in the first place. Just snapped, staring down the person in front of him. He realized right then this was all part of their plan from the start. That thing yelled out, totally hyped up, saying their crew could just keep growing forever. It really believed that one day they'd be the top demon squad in the whole world. He looked at the elves, kind of annoyed, thinking they just kept this amazing treasure for themselves and didn't even do anything cool with it. To him, it was just sitting there, totally wasted. Everything went quiet. Left's heart was pounding. The spring of life wasn't some random tool people could just use. It meant something deep. It was about where they all came from, what they believed, and what really mattered to them. He just looked at the guy, thinking there's no way someone like that would ever get it. Faith wasn't even on his radar. He knew it didn't matter at all. For him, the only thing that counted was having real power. The villain didn't waste any time, calling out his crew and sending them straight after her. He wanted his people to take her down, no holding back. Out of nowhere, tons of tiny tentacles shot up from the water. Slimy arms suddenly flew out, all aiming left. She didn't back down, just kept it cool like nothing could shake her. She slammed her staff down hard on the ground. A golden shield spread out fast, lighting everything up like the sun just dropped in. No matter how many times the tentacles hit, none of them managed to get past it. The tentacle lord just stared unimpressed. This barrier not even close to enough. With the power he had, it was clear that thing would get wrecked in no time. When it finally shattered, he knew it was game over for whoever was inside. Just smirked, totally unbothered. Everyone else thought the barrier was for defense, but he knew they had it all wrong. She made it clear she was serious about ending things right then. Her hands shot up toward the sky, ready for whatever was coming next. Mana shot up into the air, swirling together until it formed a giant magic circle that covered the whole sky. The tentacle lord just stopped dead in his tracks. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, a spell that massive, that was wild. Aurora watched from a distance, realizing she was actually pulling it off. The spell, the one the elves always said not to mess with, the moon goddess thing, was real. Now that nobody was stopping her, she was finally going off for real. Spotted the explosion going off in the distance. Looked like the elf princess had already jumped into the fight without him. There was no way he was about to sit this one out, so he got moving right away. Spoke with zero emotion, his words cutting through the silence. For him, magic that didn't go all out was pointless. Right now, nothing stood in his way. He knew it was over for him. Out of nowhere, a straight-up blast of energy shot down from the sky, slamming right into the tentacle lord. He wasn't scared at all when it let out a loud roar. The second the tentacles made contact with the beam, they just fell apart, gone in an instant. He tried to say something, but then everything got blasted away by this massive explosion. For a second, all he could see was white, just pure light everywhere. That spell, Lament of the Moon Goddess, wiped out everything for hundreds of meters like it was nothing. Aurora went pale. She knew that spell was the most powerful one elves had, but using it would wipe out all her psychic energy. She was really putting it all on the line. Didn't matter whether things worked out or not, she was straight up in danger. He needed to get to her ASAP. When the light started to die down, he dropped to one knee, shaking. He realized then the barrier wasn't even meant to block anything. He knew he had this fight on lock. Her eyes started to lose focus, and she could feel her energy slipping away. Just then someone grabbed her hand. It was. He showed up like it was no big deal, steady and calm, making sure she was okay. Out of nowhere, noticed that familiar touch. No doubt about it, her guy was here. Noticed what happened and thought it was pretty impressive. He saw that someone had managed to wipe out the whole tentacle monster nest solo, and honestly he was kind of surprised but also respected the move. Couldn't hide how pumped she was. Honestly, if he hadn't broken everything down for her before, there's no way she would stood a chance against that nasty thing's mind games. He knew he was the real MVP here. The little fox just froze, totally lost for words. Caught her looking his way. He wondered if something was up, but honestly he didn't mind the attention. Right now he was feeling pretty drained anyway. He knew he had to grab his shun and hang on tight if he wanted to get back on track. Noticed getting pretty close and his face went red. He realized how close he was and shot back, curious about what actually thought of him. He thought it was pretty decent. Right after he took down that tentacle monster, she appeared. It honestly felt like the moon goddess was looking out for him. Not gonna lie, if she didn't appreciate him now, it'd be straight up wrong. Right then, leaned in and kissed. The little fox froze for a second. He couldn't believe how this princess just straight up ignored him like he didn't even exist. Aurora showed up right then. She looked over to check if her sister was okay, ready to jump in and help. She scanned the area, trying to spot the monster, kind of surprised that it looked like the fight might already be over. She showed up a little after everyone else, almost like she was caught up in her feelings or something. Right as things were heating up between the two, the fountain of life out of nowhere started shaking. The giant tentacle monster showed up, making a ton of noise. The elves thought they had it in the bag, already hyped up and celebrating, but they were way too early. This wasn't just any beast, it was the tier 6 mimic tentacle mother, straight up terrifying. Even after getting smacked by the elf queen's strongest move, the thing just powered up and leveled up even more. Now it was anyone's guess if and his squad could actually take it down. The tentacle mother looked smug, clearly thinking she'd already won. She could tell he was wiped out from that last spell, and now she was ready to show what she could do. He knew the elven insects were done for. Aurora and the little fox just stopped dead, not moving an inch. Right in front of them stood the six-beast leader, so this was the real boss of the tentacle tribe. The vibe coming off this guy was straight up wild. Meanwhile, kept holding on to Shan, totally annoyed that their moment got cut short. She pulled a face, clearly annoyed. It just seemed like someone always had to step in and mess up her good time. He wasn't done yet. He wondered if the other guy could actually handle whatever happened next. Right when was gearing up to go in for another hit, stepped in and held her back. He could barely keep his eyes open, totally wiped out. His friend just stepped up, ready to handle things while he took a breather. Fess's heart pretty much lit up. Seeing Shun Shun step up for him just felt so solid, real man vibes right there. He guessed this was what it's like when someone confesses. Honestly, it felt kinda sweet. Now Shun Shun was clearly into him. Zoned out just watching as she started laughing all nervously. He could tell her mind was off somewhere wild again. The tentacle mother just froze, totally thrown off. She was supposed to be this big deal top tier running the whole squad. He watched them messing around, barely even hiding it. But then they actually wanted to throw hands with him like he was just there for fun. It was obvious they weren't even treating him like a real challenge. 3 huge tentacles suddenly launched straight at. He just stood his ground, not even budging, and his energy was all over the place. Tentacles stopped cold like they glitched out for a second. Cracks started showing up all over their surface. 1 second later they broke apart, pieces flying everywhere across the floor. Looked at him, not really caring, basically daring the other guy to do something about it. The tentacle monster let out a wild scream, clearly hurting. His fingers were caught in the mess. Aurora just froze. She totally missed whatever he pulled off, and honestly it made no sense to her at all. Size lit up just like UD Hope from the guy he picked. Honestly, the dude was on another level. Kept it cool and steady. He knew the Fountain of Life had something he was after, and this guy was his ticket in. He was just gone. The glow behind him lit up for a second, then faded out. In just a few seconds, a ton of swords shot out, flying straight at the monster. The tentacle monster swung its arms around and let out a loud roar, acting like nothing could touch him and magic wasn't even a problem. Right when the swords hit, every single tentacle got chopped off instantly. The beast was torn up, full of holes, and just let out this wild, confused scream. It couldn't believe what just happened. He was supposed to be a tier 6 monster way above this level. Still, even with all that damage, the beast just started grinning like nothing could really take him down. He knew his regeneration was next level, and as long as he was still breathing, he'd bounce back no matter what. Jumped up, and right then the whole lake turned to ice. The tentacle monster just stopped moving, totally frozen in place. He stared him down, icy as ever, and made it clear. Guys like this had no place here and needed to be gone for good. The battered creature froze up, clearly scared and trying to stall. It didn't want any more smoke and just wanted to chill things out. Started floating up, and tons of energy balls showed up all around him. He let out a quick yell, and with a wild chain lightning move, the spheres all shot off together. The tentacle monster just stared, totally unfazed. Words like that weren't going to take him out. He knew that as long as even a small part of him survived, he wasn't done yet. His smile faded fast. The spheres started growing huge, taking over the whole scene. By then, the huge explosion swallowed up the whole lake. From the side just stared, totally locked in. That thing was massive, and he couldn't help but be impressed. He was honestly into it. Aurora just stood there frozen. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. One move and there was a tier 6 beasts didn't even stand a chance. It was a reminder that there's always someone out there who's on another level. Strength was just unreal. The tentacle mother let out one last scream before her whole body just crumbled into ashes. The Fountain of Life, which had looked totally messed up before, started glowing again, like it was back to normal and full of energy. On the other hand, was thinking about something totally different. He started wondering how wild it would be if Shun Shun used that kind of power on him instead. Just the idea of it had him kind of hyped. Came down and landed right on top of the lake, steady and calm like he'd done it 100 times. He quietly called out, letting whoever was hiding know it was time to show themselves and face the person in charge. Ripples moved out across the water, breaking up the surface. Out of nowhere, a bright red ball blasted up from below. After 5,000 years, its voice came out shaky, like it could barely believe what was happening. The wait was finally over, and for a second it seemed like waking up again was just a crazy dream. They wanted to stick together like nothing could split them up. Took in the orb, and right away it let him know what was up. It called itself the Solar Essence Core, saying it could give him endless energy and keep him going. Plus it had this wild effect that made him super attractive to the opposite sex. The warning hit him: use this power smart or things could seriously flip. This wasn't just a small upgrade, stuff could end up completely different. After the fusion finished, could tell his energy just shot up big time, almost like he was about to level up right there. The strength from that merged soul shard was wild, he hadn't felt anything like it before. He frowned, thinking that this solar essence core thing sounded pretty sus. He couldn't help noticing how girls always seemed drawn to him. At that moment he looked over at the small fox nearby. Her eyes lit up, she was honestly hyped. Helping Shun Shun grab the sect relic made her feel like she actually mattered to him. Aurora's face turned red right away. He realized what he saw was actually in the Fountain of Life. That was some wild luck. Now he couldn't help but wonder how he was supposed to pay him back for that. His cheeks turned a bit red. The way both of them were acting made it obvious. This relic was actually doing something. He looked around and suddenly realized the elf princess was nowhere to be seen. She's honestly the one who could get pulled in by stuff like this the easiest. He suddenly got this uneasy vibe. Was she really about to do that? Was already on the ground, totally wiped out. Her heart started beating way faster. She couldn't stop thinking about how this guy just looked too good-looking, strong, the whole package. It honestly felt kind of unreal. Thinking back to how he looked in the middle of the fight, she grabbed her chest. Her heart was seriously going wild. She wasn't sure she could take it much longer. Moved fast and got right in front of the girls. The little fox and Aurora both jumped a bit, caught off guard. Aurora's face turned red, realizing the little fox ran straight to her right after the fight. The fox looked pretty bold, cheeks all red, not even trying to hide it. Aurora reminded herself she was just helping out with the relic, no big deal, no need for any thanks. Aurora shut her eyes, thinking about how she was the hero everyone in the village counted on. This was the one shot she had to give something back. She just hoped the other person wouldn't hold back either. Little Fox glanced at him, trying to hide how nervous he felt. After being around each other for ages, he figured the other guy probably got what he was thinking. It looked like things might finally change between them, and honestly, Little Fox had been waiting for this moment for way too long. Caught the way those two were getting all riled up, and honestly, it made him feel kind of out of place. He understood what was needed and decided to give it his all, ready to make things work for everyone. Before anything else, he needed to handle the biggest problem right in front of him. He pointed over, finally seeing on the ground, shaking. Right then the condensed sun essence explained that Princess, being an elf, always had this strong drive, and now with the sun essence it was like that energy just got turned up even more. She wanted it so bad it almost hurt. If she didn't let it out soon, she felt like she might just lose it. Everything in her was about to break loose. Now it's all up to him, he gets to decide how this ends. Looked at her and realized that if she'd never crossed paths with him, her life would be totally different right now. He knew this was his responsibility. Real men don't bail when things get tough. He wasn't the type to just dip when things got tough. Shun Shun started taking off his clothes, getting ready for whatever was coming next. Little Fox and Aurora both got nosebleeds right away. Nature really came through for them this time. Honestly, they could just call it a day and be happy. He stopped for a second. Hanging out here, wasn't it? Way too many people around. Time to bounce. They stepped into the mirror of eternity. He snapped out of it for a second. Was this spot really some kind of heaven? And then seeing Shun's guy standing in front of this queen with nothing on, yeah, that was way too wild for his brain to handle. Noticed he was finally snapping out of it. The guy was burning up like his whole body was on fire. Knew he had to help cool him down fast or things could get serious real quick. Smiled to himself. He realized someone wanted to make a bet with him, probably as a way to give him a reward. He caught on fast, thinking that if that's the case, he wouldn't hold back. The mirror of eternity started shaking like crazy, leaving Little Fox totally confused about what was happening inside. He glanced at Aurora, but she just shrugged, honestly having no clue herself since she'd never seen anything like it before. Out of nowhere, clothes started shooting straight out from the mirror of eternity. Aurora froze for a second. Those were definitely her sister's black stockings. When in stepped into the mirror of eternity, the Little Fox and Aurora couldn't help but start overthinking. With just the two of them alone in that place, nothing on, nowhere to hide, they started wondering if things were about to get real. The noise inside was so wild, her body couldn't help but tense up too. She thought back to when she took in In's energy. They'd kissed before, but it was never like this. This time, everything felt way more intense and personal. She thought it was so unfair, and honestly, you could tell she was jealous. She wasn't the type to just chill and do nothing. With her mind made up, the Little Fox went right up and walked straight into the mirror of eternity, ready to see what was on the other side. Aurora just stood there, not really sure what she was seeing. It slowly hit her. She might actually be the only one still out here. He really wanted to go in too, but just thinking about walking in by himself had him hesitating. It'd be way too awkward. Inside the mirror of eternity's voice came through strong. He was all in, daring anyone to give it everything they had. He wasn't backing down, totally confident he could handle whatever came his way. No one ever beat him. Aurora's face turned red, and she knew she couldn't just freeze up anymore. Her heart was beating faster than ever. She had to do something right now. She took a deep breath and walked straight into the mirror world, fully locked in on what she needed to do. She froze for a second when she saw it. The place was massive, way bigger than she expected from such a tiny entrance. Nobody would guess there was a whole world hiding back there, was on another level. She knew she had to track him down fast. He'd put it all on the line for everyone. Being the the princess, she felt like she had to step up and show she could return the favor the right way. He started tracking where energy was headed. She got to where the noise was coming from and just stopped in her tracks. No way, that didn't seem real. Aurora spotted Little Fox and left standing together, and her eyes went wide. Her legs just stopped working and she dropped to the ground shaking. Even just watching everything go down was already too much for her. There was no way she could actually jump in herself. Let out a sigh, thinking that if things were getting too heavy, it was better to just back off. He figured this person didn't even belong here anyway. The only reason he messed with the Mirror of Eternity was to help out their sister. He turned around and headed back. Aurora stood her ground without backing down. She made it clear she wasn't going anywhere. She wanted to stick around and pay him back, just like her sister and the little fox did before. Sweat started rolling down his face. The power from the sun essence was next level, honestly kind of scary. He knew things were about to get real tough for him. The next morning rolled around, and the elves started getting anxious since their queen still hadn't come back. He stood right in front of this weird, glowing tear in the air, like something straight out of a game. Last night the royal guard knew they messed up and slowed the queen down. Today they were locked in, ready to fix it and show everyone they had her back. He crouched down and took a quick look inside, hoping she was okay. If anything happened to their queen, the elves were pretty much done for. His face went bright red in an instant. His knees suddenly started to shake, like his body just realized what was happening. Everyone else started freaking out, trying to figure out what just went down. They wanted to know what he saw and why he was suddenly on his knees. The guard took a step back, hands trembling. To him this was paradise, like he just stepped into a place where everything felt unreal and perfect. Paradise? The elves just stared, totally confused. They were all wondering what was going on and if anyone had actually seen the queen or the princess. Both the queen and the princess are inside right now. That good-looking guy is with them too, and they were just hanging out together. Right as the elf was about to finish, someone came out, barely holding it together. It was Left, the elf queen. She looked like she could barely stand. She was totally wiped out, like just drained all her energy. Her legs were shaky, and it was pretty obvious she was struggling to even stay on her feet. She let out a quiet breath, totally content. It just felt right, almost unreal how good it was. Aurora came out right after, moving slow and rubbing her knees. Her back was definitely hurting, but you could tell she was hyped about what just happened. Even though it stung a bit, she couldn't help but feel pretty happy about it. She gave a small smile. Spending a night like that with was something she knew she'd remember forever. Shen finally stepped out, carrying Qing on his back. She was shaking, barely holding it together, and honestly looked like she'd just been through the craziest moment of her life. She couldn't believe how strong Shen was and legit thought she wasn't making it out. He rolled his eyes, clearly not buying it. To him, the whole thing sounded way over the top, especially since the other guy couldn't even get up, let alone walk. She pouted, totally serious. Her body just gets way more sensitive than most. His cheeks went red and jumped in before things could get awkward. Wasn't about to let Little Fox take all the credit for Shenzhen. He knew it was his shot now, especially since he'd put in most of the effort the night before. The elves spotted their queen and princess safe and sound, and everyone just lit up. Their faces said it all: the queen, the princess, even the guy who was with them. They all made it back in one piece. The whole squad couldn't help but celebrate. Once he finally got a clear look at, everyone just started blushing. Somehow the guy looked even better than last time. Looked their way. Just that one glance had a bunch of elf girls freaking out, their minds instantly going off with wild daydreams. Out of nowhere, one of the elves spoke up, letting the king know something was off. Even though the tentacle monsters were gone, the spring of life wasn't working anymore. Ever since she left, the vibe totally changed. Her face just wasn't the same, and the usual energy in the room was straight up missing. Without the spring's power, elves started wondering how they'd even have kids now. She slowly looked over at Shan, her eyes locked on him, totally focused. He just stopped in his tracks. He could already tell what was going through her head. Jean was behind him, clearly noticing the way everyone was staring. He could tell people were acting like the whole repopulation thing was on this one guy's shoulders, and Jean wasn't having it. Looked around and saw a ton of elves everywhere. He knew there was no way Shun's Hun could take them all by himself. If things kept going like this, Shun's Hun was done for, couldn't just stand there and watch. Shot him this look, kind of like she felt bad for him. Everyone knew the elf girls were on another level, super pretty, soft, all that. No way would just let their whole squad disappear, right? He started thinking about just staying in Jinling village for good. Everyone needed Shun's Hun, but honestly he needed it the most. Was caught up with something and couldn't really pay attention right now. Jumped in, reminding everyone that Shun had stuff to do. He couldn't just hang around making elves non-stop, that would wear him out fast. Knew his body wouldn't handle it either. Aurora let out a deep breath, honestly disappointed. She knew there was no way to stick around, tried to hold back tears, but they started showing anyway. He couldn't believe their connection had to stop now. Shun just looked down quiet, had even already thought of what they'd call their kids one day. All around them the elves started tearing up too. They couldn't believe the person who saved them was just leaving. Paused, thinking hard. He wondered if it was actually possible to bring the spring of life back. Sighs lit up almost like he just realized something wild. He started thinking, no way, is it really just the two of us chilling in the hot spring trying to level up together? She froze for a second, catching her breath. It clicked: when spring comes around, their energy would kick back in. That had to be what was going on. Stood next to Shun, but Shun didn't mean it that way. He needed to do this old school ritual, something personal he had to handle on his own. Nobody was allowed to stick around. Everyone had to head back to village and chill there. Checking things out was totally off limits. After everyone left, he just stood there looking into the spring. In his head, he figured out that tea was basically like pure sun energy, the reason this spot was special and where the elves came from. Nobody ever really found out what was behind it all. For 5,000 years, they never slipped up once. They watched over it, always on point. He figured he was just taking back what belonged to him, but deep down, he wasn't about to let their whole crew get wiped out. While staying out of sight in the woods, Left watched from behind a tree, wondering what kind of ritual needed to be this secret. Ching leaned over next to her, curious to see what he'd do to bring the spring back to life. Shot Shun a look, remembering how Shun's girl said no one was supposed to be around. So why was Ching here? Ching just stared back like he had the same question for, shrugged it off and looked away, deciding to just let it slide for now. But he made it clear whatever happened today was just between them. Ching agreed, no questions asked. Suddenly made a move, and both of them instantly noticed. His face lit up red. The guy started taking off his shirt. Man, this was wild. Both women's faces turned bright red. Took off his shirt, shut his eyes, and zoned in, getting ready to power up. Out of nowhere, his eyes flew open and he let out a loud roar. Out of nowhere, this huge black dragon shot up into the sky. The dragon twisted around inside, putting out this insane energy that everyone could feel. Just froze, totally stunned. Right in front of him was a black dragon. Shun's girl actually pulled off something wild. The thing was massive and straight up powerful. Even he had to admit anyone would show respect to that. Ching couldn't stop shaking. The dragon's energy was just next level, like you could feel it in the air. He barely looked at it and his whole body was already freaking out. Shenzhen focused all his strength into the black dragon, sending a wild surge of energy through it that felt like it could change everything. The dragon was almost ready to go off and finish the ritual. Both women kept their eyes locked on what was happening, waiting to see what would go down next. Out of nowhere, the dragon's eyes lit up bright red, like someone just turned on a warning sign. Its jaws snapped open and blasted out a deep red energy beam. He jumped headfirst right into the best part of his life. The spring started going wild, lighting up from deep inside. 1 second, everything was calm. Then out of nowhere, water exploded everywhere, rolling in like a wild tsunami that wouldn't stop. The water came crashing down, wiping out the whole forest in seconds. He sat there, water everywhere, totally soaked. Even from where he was, his clothes stuck to his skin. This wasn't some chill spring, this was a straight-up flood. The water had this intense energy running through it. When she touched it, she could sense all kinds of life vibes moving around inside. She started thinking maybe this was what the relic could really do. It honestly blew her mind. Landed right in front of her. It was over, her energy was back, and she was good to go. The magic isn't permanent. Once it runs out, he knows he can just run the ritual again. Sais lit up, totally impressed. Just saved all the elves, like actually saved their whole crew. While everyone was hyping him up as the hero, Ching just rolled his eyes. He thought calling a savior was selling him short. He basically made them. Folded his arms, clearly not wanting to get into that topic. He remembered laying down the rule. Nobody was supposed to sneak a look while the ritual was going on. He needed to keep things private. If someone barged in, it could have gone really bad. Ba Chin lowered her head. She'd just been keeping an eye on things because she was concerned for him. If anyone needed to take the blame, she wanted it to be her, not him. Didn't waste a second, he stepped right in front of her, blocking the way. He knew she hadn't done anything wrong. It was all on him. He'd started the whole thing. If anyone deserved to get in trouble, it was him, not her. She looked over at him with that playful grin, like she was daring him to go all out. She really wanted to see him bring out that wild black dragon again and show her who's boss. He knew he'd messed up big time. No excuses, no holding back. He wanted whatever was coming to him. Shenzhen was ready to face it all. No matter what came his way, he was ready to handle it. Right then, finally got what she was really saying. Back in the Mirror of Eternity, the place was packed. Couldn't really get into it with all those people around. He figured it was about time to show her how things should really go down. He lifted his hand and slapped down, hitting his hips hard. Every time got hit, he couldn't help but let out a sound. He was actually into it. He wanted it rough, thinking he deserved whatever came his way if he messed up. Honestly, he'd been wanting this kind of thing all week, every week non-stop. Ching's face went bright red on the sidelines while couldn't catch his breath, totally hyped up and pushing for more. He wanted Ching to step up, take control, and make sure he'd never forget what just happened. After laying down some serious punishment, glanced at the guy left shaking. He wondered if that was enough to finally shut him up, kind of waiting to see if the dude was done or still wanted more. He wondered why it felt so final. He was honestly happy, just catching his breath. She looked worn out but honestly looked like she was on cloud 9. From this point on, she was all in, ready to follow his lead every single day, no questions asked. She was down to take whatever he had planned. Right next to them, Bai Qing was shaking and clearly annoyed. He couldn't get why he had to get caught up in trouble meant for the queen. Now he was barely able to stand, looking like he just wanted out. Rubbed the back of his head, looking a bit embarrassed. He realized he got way too into it and just let his hands do their own thing without thinking. He realized something had changed in him. Stuff that never used to bother him was suddenly hitting different. He couldn't tell if it was just in his head or if the solar essence core was messing with him again. Including the solar essence core and the pieces of his soul that were still around, he counted 7 left. He knew he couldn't waste any time, so he got ready to head out again with the little fox. Left saw something off in his eyes, like he was totally zoned out. She leaned in, her voice shaky, hoping he wouldn't just leave her behind. She understood he couldn't just live with the elves forever, but that didn't stop her from wanting to go with him. Being queen never really made her happy anyway. What she actually wanted was to get out of the forest and see everything the world had to offer, as long as she was with him. He really wanted to tag along with Sun. Could tell she was being real with him, there was no faking it. He stopped waiting around. Once he saw the decision was made, he just headed out, expecting the other guy to follow. Qing looked at, clearly stressing about what would happen to the elves if she bounced. Without their queen around, the whole village could go wild. Just gave a calm smile, letting her know she didn't have to stress about it. She knew exactly who she wanted to take over the throne. Everyone knew Aurora. She was that girl who always had everyone's back, super responsible and just naturally talented. People really believed in her, and honestly it felt like she was meant to be the next elf queen. Way out in the demon realm, deep where barely anything moves, something dark started stirring. It was quiet until this shadow showed up, breaking the silence like it owned the place. There he was, the Dominion demon himself. Just standing there, he gave off this insane energy that made it obvious he was on a whole other level. He showed up looking for the boss here, the Skeleton King, who's basically a top-level beast. The undead ruler didn't rush things. He wanted to know what this guy was doing here, asking if he came to give up his soul and join him. The demon let out a quick snort, thinking the guy totally missed the point and had it flipped. He showed up ready to take control, making it clear he wasn't backing down until he got what he wanted. The Skeleton King lost it and started roaring, looking like he was ready to snap. He couldn't believe anyone would step to him like that. Everyone knew him as the Skeleton King, the guy at the top of the 8th tier, basically running the whole death scene. The demon just looked at him, totally unfazed, like he'd already done his homework on the Skeleton King. He didn't bother showing up for just anyone. If this guy didn't matter, he wouldn't even be here. But now he was giving him a shot, a chance to fall in line and maybe still walk away. The Skeleton King stared him down, clearly not impressed. He pointed out that the guy still had no clue about his situation and told him to check under his feet. The bones scattered around came from guys just like him, wannabe tough guys, wild monsters, even some so-called heroes. They all tried to beat this dude, but in the end their bodies just faded away, crushed under his feet. He'd be right there with them soon. Right as his voice dropped, a whole army of skeleton soldiers started crawling up from the bones underneath. This was his go-to move, Death Summon, calling up a whole crew of skeletons. The Skeleton King gave the order to tear him up. The undead army rushed in all at once, moving fast like a wave crashing in. The demon got pulled under fast, lost in the endless pile of bones. Right after, red demonic energy burst out from the middle, lighting everything up. The blast just tore the skeletons apart, sending their bones flying everywhere like dust caught in a wild wind. The demon stood there, covered by a shadowy shield, looking smug. He clearly thought everyone else was beneath him. He didn't show up just to mess with a bunch of skeletons. He was here to take down the real challenge. If the other guy couldn't even go all out, then honestly, he wasn't even worth facing. The Skeleton King's vibe instantly went cold. He made it clear this was the end of the road. If someone wanted a fight, he was ready to finish it, no holding back. When he gave the signal, all the bones scattered around started floating up, pulled in by some dark energy he controlled. For hundreds of years, these bones weren't just trophies, he actually got his power from them. He opened his eyes and took it all in. His massive head started shrinking, turning into this tall, skeleton-looking figure. He showed off his ultimate undead form, looking way more powerful than before. He wondered if anyone would still try to act tough in front of him now. The demon locked eyes on the glowing red orb beating in the middle of the creature's chest. He smirked, his eyes locked on the corrupted relic Death Spider, so it really was here. The Skeleton King just stopped dead. He couldn't believe what he'd just heard about some Death Spider. Was he actually on the hit list now? One second he was standing strong, and the next, his body just dropped down to one knee, like he had zero control over it. He tried to move, but his body just wouldn't listen. Something was way off, and he had no clue what was going on with him. The demon pulled out this black cube called the Cube of Dominion. With it, he could take over anyone who had even a bit of demonic energy in them. Once he had the cubes, those people just did whatever he wanted, no questions asked. Not even people who gone dark can stay away from it. The Skeleton King let out an annoyed grunt. He couldn't stand what was happening, it was just straight up messed up. He always relied on sneaky moves to get ahead. If he actually played straight up, there's no way he'd come out on top. The demon just grinned, looking like he already knew he was winning. He clearly wasn't buying any of it, just thought it sounded like someone making excuses. Winning is what matters most. Around here, whoever comes out on top calls the shots. While he was talking, the cube in his hand started spinning on its own. The Skeleton King's eyes suddenly lit up red. Even though his voice was shaky, he still listened and did what was asked. He accepted it, showing he was ready to serve, almost like it was a big deal for him. Over at the Demon Hunter Guild in Pharaoh City, things were going down, and Ching just saw their names pop up on the bounty board. He was wanted for taking out people from the 4 big families, Jenny, Palapa, Alan, and Carl, and then dipping out of the city. Inside the guild hall and were going at it, both backing up and not letting anyone talk down on him. The Holy Cross Order stepped up for Shun, clearing his name and telling everyone to call off the bounty. They wanted the case looked into again, making sure things got a fair shot this time. Stormed in right behind them and smacked her hand down on the table, making everyone look up. She was locked in, standing up for him. There was no way the Steve family would back someone shady, and she knew he wasn't the type to do anything messed up or bail when things got tough. Officer Beers from the guild kept his cool and just let him know he got where he was coming from. But honestly, everything still pointed straight at. He might not have been the one who did it, but he's seriously tied in. When they found Jenny and Carl, they had no clothes on. The whole situation was messed up. To make things even crazier, 3 of them were straight up A-rank telekinetics. That's next level stuff most people can't even imagine. His face turned red as soon as she found out Jenny got stripped, thinking this was totally something would do. His heart started beating way faster just thinking about it. Whatever happened there must have been wild. Honestly, it made him curious. He kind of wanted to see for himself how crazy it got. Beers just stood there staring at the 2 of them, totally lost. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He totally missed what she was getting at. She didn't care if it was rude, that wasn't even part of the convo. Those guys were S-rank telekinetics, all from the top 4 families in Pharaoh City. There were 3 of them. Getting out of a tag team attack from those guys is wild, even if didn't actually take them out. That pretty much proves his power level is way above S-rank. He's basically a huge problem for the Demon Hunter Guild just by being around. The higher-ups dropped this bounty on him, and there's no way he can just take it back. He had no choice but to work for the guild now. Both women just stood there, totally stunned, not knowing what to say. After they dipped from the guild, started venting, pretty much saying Shan only wanted to squad up to wipe out his bounty. No way that was happening. Just nodded, kind of owning it, like he was that dude who does his own thing and never lets anyone pin him down. She could tell just by looking at him, this guy never backs down. He wasn't about to kiss up to the guild just to get rid of some bounty. That's just not how he rolls. After hearing that, let out a quiet sigh. She remembered that night when things got real between them, all caught up in the moment. The next morning she woke up and realized she was the only one in bed. He couldn't help but think about lately. He really wondered what was up to these days and if somewhere out there was thinking about him too. Over in the elven village, just sat there, kind of stuck while all the elf girls wouldn't leave him alone. He didn't really know what to do with all their attention, but he just dealt with it. He let them know he was dealing with a queen in the middle of some royal changes, pretty much saying this was the worst possible timing. The 2 elves heard that and just looked away. They realized they were getting a little too hyped. The new queen's big day was important, so they knew they had to chill out and show some respect. At the ceremony, admitted she found out how weak she was after fighting the tentacle beast. She decided she had to team up with Shun and go train, hoping to get stronger. Aurora stood in front of the elven tribe's throne, knowing that out of everyone she was the only one trusted to take over. She didn't hesitate, she was all in for her village, determined not to mess things up for anyone. The crown wasn't just for looks, it came with real responsibility, and she understood what it meant to step up. Starting now, Aurora just became the queen of the elves. He decided to stick to what his sister taught him, not planning to forget any of it. Everyone in the crowd started yelling Aurora's name together, their voices all coming together at once. Checked out the scene and just let out a chill smile, knowing everyone finally accepted him. He felt like his job here was done and started thinking about heading off to train with. Aurora was kind of caught off guard, surprised he was leaving already, and hoped he'd at least stick around for dinner before bouncing. Shook her head and made it clear she wasn't about to waste any time. Training was the top priority right now, no excuses. As she spoke, a little bit of drool slid down from the side of her mouth, showing just how focused she was. She put one foot up on the railing, steadying herself like she was getting ready for something serious. He didn't hesitate, just locked eyes on and launched himself right at him. Just stood there totally still, taking in how awesome the view was. Right after that, there was a loud thump. Aurora moved fast, clearly concerned. She checked on her sister, noticing right away that she didn't look too steady on her feet. Was shaking as he sat on top of trying to play it cool. He brushed it off, saying he just pushed himself too hard in the last fight. His body was still worn out and his legs just gave out on him. Shun tensed up when Left got close, and right away, that solar core in his chest started heating up again. Just a second ago, her body felt weak, but now everything's heating up. Being so close to Shun, she could tell her energy was seriously building, climbing higher every second. Aurora could tell things were getting tense. The whole situation reminded her of something she'd seen before, and she couldn't shake that uneasy feeling. All the elves had their eyes locked on what was happening. If things went down like they did that night, there was no way to dodge the mess that would follow. She just got the crown, and things were already getting wild. She knew she had to step up and shut this down before it got out of hand. Everyone was watching her now. Left looked over at Shan, eyes kind of watery, like he was searching for answers. He couldn't help but wonder if he messed up somehow. Every time they got close, Shan's body always acted weird, and Left just wanted to know why. He hadn't done anything. The other person was the one who was freaking out. But honestly, he couldn't keep it together either. Staying focused was way harder than before. He knew if this kept up, things could get out of hand real quick. Left just smiled and climbed on top of him, acting like it was no big deal. She couldn't help but think how awkward this spot was. Even though she knew it was kinda wrong, deep down she was actually into it. Jones felt his head pounding. He could tell someone was messing with him on purpose, really pushing his buttons. He knew he couldn't just let it slide, he'd have to step in and set things straight. The other elves looked away, faces going red as they started whispering to each other. The word punish had them all curious, and honestly some of them were secretly down to find out what that was about too. Heard that and just snapped. His eyes lit up red. Yeah, he wasn't about to let that slide. They really brought this on themselves. Ching, standing next to him, instantly picked up on the bad vibes. He shot a look at Shun and the others, basically telling them to chill out and keep it together. Right now wasn't the moment to mess around. This was the Elf Queen's big coronation, and everyone needed to stay focused. Ching tried to keep things together, not wanting to mess up a big deal for the tribe. But while she was yelling, she started to feel this heat building up inside her too. She realized she was slipping, just like Shun, who was already way past his limit. In her head, she was hoping someone would step in before things got even more out of hand. Out of nowhere, some purple butterflies started flying right in front of her. Ching just stared, totally confused, not sure how they even showed up. Suddenly, she got super tired all at once. She dropped right to the floor and just knocked out cold. The rest of the elves started dozing off too, dropping into sleep one after another. Those butterflies weren't just regular bugs, they were Aurora's moonlight sleep butterflies. Even though her hands shook and she wanted to give in, she knew she had to keep it together as the queen. She pushed down her own feelings so she could look out for everyone else. She knew she had to step in, even if it meant putting herself on the line just to stop her sister and Shun. Sat there half awake with all these glowing butterflies floating around him. He was just chilling, not really reacting, but couldn't help wondering what Aurora was up to. Big Sis was caught up with something important, so nobody wanted to mess with her or get in her way. She stretched her arms and let out a big yawn, then closed her eyes and started dozing off. Right before she blacked out, she tried to keep herself awake, thinking she had to hold on a bit longer. She was still waiting for Shun to get what he deserved. Aurora's hands shook as she glanced at the elves knocked out around her. She let out a breath, finally chill knowing everything was calm for now. She pulled herself together just in time so nothing got out of hand. Even though her brain kept replaying awkward stuff about Shun, she still managed to keep everyone safe.